Step into the dark with me. Welcome to This Explainer, where we're cracking open a really chilling case file today. We're going to break down the anatomy of a haunting, specifically the absolutely terrifying events that went down at the desolate Sharma petrol pump. We're pulling this straight from the accounts of a night trip gone horribly, horribly wrong. So buckle up as we piece together this nightmare and, whatever you do, don't look over your shoulder. All right, let's dive right in.
So, I want you to just imagine this for a second. You are completely alone. The sky above you is just choked with pitch black clouds, there's no moon in sight, and the highway stretches out into this endless abyss of pure darkness. The only thing breaking the night is a random flash of lightning, which bathes the empty road in the stark, milky white glow, only to plunge you back into a darkness that somehow feels even heavier than before. And then, your vehicle dies. A stranger steps out of the shadows, offering you a lifeline. But what if that lifeline is actually a trap? Let's map out exactly how our subject, Raghav, ended up in this nightmare. It's 11:55 p.m. and he's heading back to his village after a late-night shift in the city. There are absolutely zero cars around, no roadside diners, literally no signs of life for kilometers. And then, out of nowhere, his bike starts jerking. The engine coughs, he checks the gauge, and yep, he is completely out of gas. You can imagine the psychological terror of that total isolation setting in, right? But right at that peak moment of rising panic, a flash of lightning lights up a rusted ancient sign on the side of the road. It says, Sharma Petrol Pump, 500 meters. Now this is a place the locals swore had been totally abandoned for years. A place they said was cursed. Now, driven by pure desperation, Raghav pushes his dead, heavy bike through this really oppressive silence. About 5 minutes later, a dim yellow light cuts through the dark. As he gets closer, every single survival instinct in his body should have been screaming at him to turn around and run. I mean, the place is totally abandoned, surrounded by crumbling walls and overgrown weeds. There's just this one single ancient light bulb swaying in the wind, flickering violently. And the fuel dispenser? It's this rusted-out relic that clearly hasn't worked in decades. It completely shatters any hope of this being a safe haven, painting a picture of an absolute ghost town. So Raghav calls out into the dark. Is anyone there? And from the deep shadows, this incredibly old man slowly shuffles out. He's wearing a dust-caked vintage uniform and a really filthy cap. His face is just a map of deep wrinkles, but it's his eyes that get you. They stare at Raghav without blinking. Not even once. The old man wordlessly operates that dead, rusted machine, and, impossibly, fuel actually begins to flow. A serious chill hits Raghav's spine. When he tries to hand over 200 rupees to pay, the old man just smiles this terrible thin smile and mutters something that would freeze your blood. Let it be today, son. We don't take money from first-timers. Okay, so that deeply unsettling smile? That's more than enough to send Raghav scrambling right back onto his bike. He kicks it and it starts on the very first try. But as he's speeding away into the night, the old man's voice cuts right through the howling wind, setting up the grim rule of this whole curse. He calls out, Son, if anyone asks for a lift on the way, do not stop. See, by accepting that fuel, Raghav unknowingly entered into a supernatural contract. The whole friendly stranger helping you out thing, completely subverted. That one bizarre rule is now literally the only thing keeping him alive. Fast forward 10 minutes, and the rain starts coming down hard. Suddenly, caught in the beam of his headlight, Raghav sees a woman in a white sari standing dead center in the middle of the road. Her hair is completely covering her face, and she's got her hand raised, asking for a ride. Remembering the old man's strict warning, Raghav hits the gas, zooming right past her. But notice how fast the panic escalates here. Almost immediately, the back of his bike feels incredibly heavy, like as if someone just sat down right behind him. He checks his mirrors, nothing. Then a woman's voice whispers right into his ear. Stop, I need to go home. His heart is practically hammering out of his chest now. He pins the throttle, and then the headlight dies completely. He is plunged into absolute, terrifying darkness. Raghav slams on the brakes. He's completely surrounded by the deafening sound of rain and total blackness. He fumbles for his phone to use the flashlight, and as he sweeps the beam forward, his blood literally turns to ice. Standing just inches from his front tire is that same woman in the sari. Only now her hair is pulled back, revealing, well, nothing. Where her face should be, there is just a swirling, empty black void. He drops the phone in terror. Total darkness again. Then an ice-cold hand grips his shoulder. Suddenly, his phone screen lights up, all on its own. down on the wet pavement. It displays an impossible picture. A photo that looks 30, maybe 40 years old, showing a young Raghav standing right next to the old man at the petrol pump. And then the screen shifts to a video. It's a premonition. It shows a man on a bike speeding away from the pump and dying in a horrific, bloody crash. And the man in that video is Raghav. As Raghav is forced to stare at his own gruesome death playing out on the cracked screen of his phone, this totally sinister voice bleeds through the static of the video. It delivers the chilling, undeniable reality of his situation. Whoever takes petrol from this pump never reaches home. The true cost of that quote-unquote free fuel becomes crystal clear in an instant. It wasn't a favor, it was a death sentence. Now, what's really interesting about this moment is how the trap is finally sprung. Raghava is frantically kicking his bike, trying to get it going, but it is completely dead. Then he hears footsteps approaching in the rain. He turns around, and it's the old man from the pump standing right there. But his eyes? They're entirely pitch black now. He gives that same terrible smile and says, "I told you, we don't take money from first-timers," because the price is collected later. All of a sudden, the entire highway lights up. Dozens and dozens of vintage car and motorcycle headlights click on in the darkness. But there are no vehicles attached to them. They're the trapped souls of everyone who ever took fuel from the Sharma petrol pump. They completely surround him, staring with these hollow eyes, and their voices merge into this single echoing chant. "Now it's your turn." Raghav squeezes his eyes shut, shaking uncontrollably as the spirits close in on him. The sound of their footsteps is just deafening. But right in the middle of that pure chaos, a voice whispers directly into his ear, giving him the ultimate survival rule. If you want to live, do not look back. Keeping his eyes clamped shut, Raghav blindly reaches down for the bike's ignition. He turns the key, and miraculously, the engine actually roars to life. The headlight cuts through the blinding rain. Without daring to glance over his shoulder even for a second, he twists the throttle and rockets blindly forward into the storm. So now, he is absolutely flying down the highway at 100 kilometers an hour. The freezing rain just whipping against his face. But guys, the nightmare is far from over. He's actually caught in a horrifying loop. Despite how fast he's going, an ice-cold hand clamps down hard on his shoulder. He can hear wet, raspy breathing right in his ear. Then, a voice screams with just terrifying intensity, "Why did you take my petrol?" He refuses to look back, though. He keeps his eyes glued straight ahead to the road, just praying for this nightmare to finally end. But as he hits the brakes, the horrifying truth sets in. Off in the distance, he spots a faint red glow. Is it salvation? A nearby village? Nope. It's that old, rusted sign again. Welcome. He is right back, exactly where he started, parked right in front of the Sharma petrol pump. And of course, the old man is standing right there under that violently flickering yellow light, smiling. "Welcome back," he says. Raghav turns to run into the woods, but suddenly, the old man is everywhere. No matter which direction he turns, exact copies of the old man block his path, all wearing that same wicked smile. Desperate, Raghav begs to go home, pleading that his village is only 10 kilometers away. But the old man simply asks him to check the time. And this detail right here, it brilliantly illustrates the sheer helplessness of his situation. Raghav feels like he's been fighting for his life for at least half an hour, right? But when he glances down at his watch, it reads exactly 12:18 a.m. Only 23 minutes have passed since his bike first broke down. Time itself has completely warped. He is trapped, completely outside the laws of reality. "You only have one path left," the old man tells him, pointing a bony finger toward the decrepit, half-ruined office building of the petrol pump. "Go inside, or by morning, your soul will be standing on the road with the rest of them." Raghav slowly pushes open the rotting wooden door. The old man shoves a rusted lantern into his hands. The literal second Raghav steps over that threshold, the heavy door slams violently shut behind him. You hear the lock click from the outside. He's trapped. The room is thick with the suffocating smell of wet, decaying earth and rotting motor oil. And as he lifts the flickering lantern, the dim light reveals walls just completely plastered with vintage, peeling calendars. Inside this tomb-like office is where the true climax of the curse is waiting for him. Sitting on a decaying desk in the center of the room is a heavy, dust-covered ledger. The cover reads, "Account of those who took petrol." Raghav opens it up, his hands shaking. Every single page lists a name, a past date, and right next to it the word "samapt," which means finished. He slowly turns to the very last page. There, written in fresh, wet ink, is today's date. Next to it is his own name, Raghav, but the space for his status? It's completely blank.
It's just sitting there, waiting for the curse to officially claim him.
As Raghav is standing there, staring in utter horror at his own impending death warrant, a sound breaks the heavy silence of the locked office. It's a child crying. Raghav lifts the lantern up, and the light hits a small boy huddled away in the corner, wearing these old, tattered clothes. The boy slowly looks up, revealing eyes that are completely milky white. Raghav's gaze slowly shifts past the ghostly child to the vintage calendar hanging on the wall right behind him. The year boldly printed across the top of the calendar is 1998. The ghost boy softly introduces himself as Mohan. He points a pale, trembling little finger at the wall. Pinned right next to that 1998 calendar are some old, yellowing newspaper clippings. Raghav leans in with his lantern to get a better look. The headline from July 17, 1998 practically screams off the page. Massive fire at old petrol pump, 6 dead. Mohan looks at him and whispers the tragic truth. We all died right here in this exact room. So, the crucial point here is understanding exactly who and what Raghav is actually dealing with. Mohan explains that the pump's original owner used to illegally sell stolen petrol. Well, one night, a massive fire broke out in the storage tanks. To stop his employees from escaping and exposing his crimes, the owner actually locked them all inside this very office to burn alive. A framed picture suddenly falls from the wall, showing the employees. And standing right in the center, looking like the boss, it's the old man from the pumps. His name is Hare Ram. Mohan reveals that Hare Ram isn't just your standard ghost. He is a delusional, incredibly powerful entity who genuinely doesn't realize he's dead. He just continually feeds the curse, trapping new souls year after year to maintain his twisted, ghostly petrol pump. Raghav is absolutely horrified. How do I get out of here? He begs the boy. Mohan points right back to the ledger on the desk. There was only one escape condition. One incredibly dangerous loophole to break the cycle. Before the unseen hand writes the word finished next to Raghav's name, Raghav has to confront the demonic old man. He must somehow force the spirit of Hare Ram to remember his own fiery death. He has to completely shatter the ghost's delusion, or he's doomed.
Suddenly, the glass windows of the office violently slam shut. The flame inside Raghav's lantern sputters and dies, plunging the entire room into total darkness. Mohan vanishes. And from the pitch black right behind Raghav, a dry, raspy voice echoes, "You've talked enough." Raghav slowly turns around. And that brings us to the ultimate question of this explainer. Can a terrified man outwit a vengeful, delusional spirit and actually force him to face his own death? Or is the ink already drying on the word finished right next to Raghav's name? It's a terrifying scenario that really makes you wonder, the next time you see a flickering light on a dark, lonely road, will you keep driving?